I've been with my wife for 16 years, married for almost 14. We have 2 daughters. One is mine biologically. The other is mine in every other way. I love them all with all of my being. A few weeks ago, I took my wife to get her eyebrows microbladed, a source of great insecurity for her, during which I hope to enjoy a night of dining and fun in the city, just to enjoy each other's company on a rarely enjoyed date night. While she was enduring the procedure, she left her phone with me. After a bit, a notification popped up. It was my stepdaughter. Even though I'm completely unaware of how to use Snapchat, I thought it would be fun to surprise her with a response from Dad instead of Mom. It took a few minutes, but I was able to fire off a goofy picture back to her. After sending, I somehow stumbled into her chat section. At first glance, it was nothing, but then I noticed a name I've always hated. We'll call him Dick. I hesitated at first, never wanting to be that type of guy who snoops through her phone, but curiosity got the best of me. I was floored by what I saw, detailed conversations about a tryst they had recently, the details of which I will mostly keep silent, but let's just state that it was about oral sex. I couldn't help but to continue reading. It was difficult for several reasons. The obvious betrayal set aside, as I've learned about Snapchat, portions will delete automatically, so the dates jumped wildly, and details were sparse from the past. What I did learn was that it had happened a few times over the past few months, including on my birthday, as I slept upstairs. I work very early. I know at my age birthdays aren't as exciting or important. That's aging for you. But it stung a little extra for sure. In between the flirting and details were pictures. Nothing too graphic, but certainly problematic. And probably the most hurtful was how she talked about me. Certainly not much positive, and at best only half true, and at worst just blatant lies or misleading statements. She got to a moment for a break in her procedure, so I put the phone down. Visibly shaken, she asked what was wrong. Not wanting to cause a scene in public, or involve the poor girl doing the procedure in our mess, I just told her I wasn't feeling well and wanted to get some fresh air. I spent the rest of the procedure, about 2 hours, walking downtown trying to figure out what steps to take next. After the procedure, I told her we'd have to put a hold on the other plans, to both of our dismay. Intending to discuss things when we got back home, once we reached our car, I couldn't hold back. I told her everything I saw. I told her not to touch her phone because I wanted to talk to her about it point by point and didn't want her removing or deleting anything anywhere from her phone. We cried and screamed all the way home. Once home, we set the kids up, and we went to our room where I dove in head first. I had her unlock her phone and give it to me, which she eventually did, very reluctantly. That's where it got even harder. She admitted to the infidelity with Dick in the basement on multiple occasions. But as I dove deeper into the phone, I found out a couple of other issues. It turns out that while we were dating, before we were married, she had been with a friend in college that I always feared, but she had always denied. She insists, the same with Dick, that they did not have intercourse, only oral, making out, etc. A contentious subject as we seem to disagree on the definition of sex. Hearing this, my mind ran away, and I began to ask about any and every situation where I feel she might have been able to cheat. Nothing too serious, except one. One night years ago after work, she didn't come home until almost 2 a.m. I remember asking where she had been. She told me she was out. Nothing more. Despite my worries, in my new relationship naivety, I let it go for the time being, but it always lingered in the back of my mind and burst out that night. As I asked, in between anger and hurt, she suddenly tightened up. She started crying, and I assumed that this was the one that would end our relationship. Instead, without going into detail in fairness to her, it was the story of her sexual assault that she had never told anyone. She cried. I cried. We held each other forever. I felt like the world's biggest asshole, while simultaneously hurt and betrayed from the other stories of her actual infidelity outside of the assault. I assured her that the assault wasn't her fault, and that despite my feelings now, that I would certainly never hold that against her. What piece of shit would? We stopped the fighting at that point, as we were both worn out. Over the next few days, we tried to be cordial and mend fences where possible. The problem was that, as is abundantly clear above, I'm not social media savvy. I don't use them terribly often, if ever. Well, she is, and has quite a large following across several platforms. She has been using those platforms to create sympathy for herself, not giving details, but using cryptic messages about how sad she is, how everything is ruined, how bad her depression currently is. Now our friends are sympathetic towards her without knowing any details, while I appear to be the unsympathetic husband who makes her miserable. I've seen comments about how I may be the problem. Now I know I'm not free from any blame here. I work a lot. Strange hours sometimes. I've had to move my disabled mother and brother in with our family to take care of them, which she has been truly helpful with. I'm also currently dealing with health issues of my own, and I can admit that because of these things, I've not been the most attentive husband for her emotionally or sexually. I have tried, but it's difficult sometimes as life gets in the way. But the fact is that I wanted to. I'm just not sure she does, and I don't feel that it justifies her infidelity. I'm at a loss here. It seems that every direction I look is the wrong one. I don't want to lose my wife. I don't want to lose my girls. I don't want to walk away from her when she needs me, as her sexual assault revelation has taken a toll on her that no woman deserves. But I also don't want to sit back and be a sucker, to get belittled and betrayed, just to brush my shoulders off and say it's no big deal. I'm lost and have nobody else to turn to here. It wasn't always like this. Life used to be much simpler. Before the marriage, before the kids, I was just a guy trying to make a mark in the world. I was a dedicated software developer, passionate about coding and creating. My parents always supported my dreams, even when they didn't fully understand them. They sacrificed a lot for me, and I always wanted to repay them in some way. My parents had this dream of owning a beautiful cottage by the sea. It was a simple dream, but it meant the world to them. I decided early on that I would make that dream a reality, but the path to achieving that was anything but easy. Early in my career, I faced numerous setbacks. Projects failed, funding fell through, and financial instability was a constant companion. There were times when I doubted my ability to succeed, but through it all, my parents' unwavering support kept me going. They believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. The first major challenge hit me hard. I had just landed a promising job at a tech startup, and things were looking up. I had moved to a new city, excited about the opportunities ahead. But within 6 months, the company went under. We were given a week's notice before the doors were shut for good. I remember calling my parents, trying to keep my voice steady as I told them the news. They encouraged me to keep pushing forward, reminding me that setbacks were just part of the journey. Job hunting in a new city was tough. I spent months sending out resumes and going to interviews, only to face rejection after rejection. My savings dwindled, and I was forced to take on odd jobs just to make ends meet. I delivered pizzas, worked at a coffee shop, and even did some freelance web design. It was humbling, to say the least, but it kept me afloat. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, my car broke down. It was my lifeline, and without it, getting to job interviews and my various side gigs became nearly impossible. I had to rely on public transportation, which was unreliable at best. I remember one particularly brutal day when I missed an important interview because the bus broke down. I felt like the universe was conspiring against me. Despite these hurdles, I kept coding. Late at night after my shifts ended, I would sit in my tiny apartment and work on my projects. It was the only thing that gave me a sense of control. I started developing small apps, hoping that one of them would catch on. But success didn't come overnight. Then, just as I started to see a glimmer of hope, life threw me another curveball. My mother was diagnosed with a serious illness. The news hit me like a ton of bricks. She needed treatment, and my father couldn't manage everything on his own. I made the difficult decision to move back home to help out. It was a tough choice, but family came first. Moving back home felt like a step backward. I was back in my childhood room, my dreams of success seeming more distant than ever. But it also reignited my determination. I set up a small office in the basement and dove back into my work. Between helping with my mother's care and working various jobs to contribute to the household, I continued to develop my apps. One night, as I was working late, I received an email that changed everything. A tech blog had picked up on one of my apps and wrote a glowing review. Downloads started pouring in, and the app began to gain traction. It was the breakthrough I had been waiting for. But with success came new challenges. Scaling the app to meet demand was no small feat. I faced technical issues, negative reviews, and fierce competition. There were days when I thought about giving up, but the thought of my parents' dream kept me going. I couldn't let them down. Through sheer grit and determination, I managed to stabilize the app and grow its user base. The revenue started coming in, and for the first time, I felt like I was on solid ground. But the journey was far from over. I had a long way to go before I could buy that dream house for my parents. And little did I know, the biggest challenges were yet to come. The breakthrough came when I developed a popular mobile app. It was a simple idea, born out of my own frustration with managing daily tasks and to-do lists. I remember sitting at my desk one evening, overwhelmed by the number of post-it notes and reminders scattered around me. I thought, there has to be a better way to organize all this. That's when the idea hit me. I spent countless nights coding, tweaking, and perfecting the app. It wasn't an overnight success. The first version was clunky and had more bugs than features. But I was determined. I reached out to friends and colleagues, asking them to test it out and provide feedback. Some nights, I would get so lost in the code that I'd lose track of time, only realizing it was morning when the sunlight streamed through my window. After several iterations, I finally had a version I was proud of. I named it Taskmaster and launched it on the App Store. The initial response was underwhelming. Downloads trickled in slowly and reviews were mixed. It was disheartening, but I wasn't ready to give up. I knew I had something valuable. I just needed to find the right way to market it. I decided to invest in some online marketing. I created social media pages, filmed a demo video, and even wrote a few blog posts about productivity and organization. I also reached out to several tech bloggers, hoping they would review my app. Most of them ignored my emails, but one blogger responded. He had a modest following, but he liked my app and agreed to write a review. That review changed everything. It was thorough, honest, and highlighted the app's unique features. Downloads started to pick up, and more positive reviews followed. Users loved the app's simplicity and the fact that it actually helped them stay organized. Word of mouth spread, and soon, Taskmaster was featured on the App Store's trending list. The success of Taskmaster not only boosted my confidence, but also significantly increased my earnings. For the first time in years, I felt like I was on the right track. The app's revenue allowed me to pay off debts and invest in better equipment. I expanded the app's features based on user feedback, making it more robust and user-friendly. It became a full-fledged productivity suite, helping people manage their tasks, set goals, and track their progress. But success didn't come without its challenges. As the user base grew, so did the technical issues. I faced server overloads, security breaches, and performance bugs. Each problem felt like a potential disaster, but I tackled them head-on. I spent countless hours debugging code, optimizing performance, and improving security. My phone was constantly buzzing with notifications, and I was on call 24/7, ready to fix any issue that arose. Hiring my first team member was a huge milestone. I brought in a friend from college who was an excellent coder. Together, we worked tirelessly to ensure Taskmaster ran smoothly. We pulled all-nighters, fueled by caffeine and sheer determination. There were moments of frustration and exhaustion, but also a sense of camaraderie and achievement. Slowly, our small team grew. We hired a designer to improve the app's interface and a marketer to handle promotions and user engagement. With each new addition, the app became better, and the load on my shoulders lightened a bit. I'll never forget the day we hit 1 million downloads. It was surreal. I called my parents immediately to share the news. They were ecstatic, and I could hear the pride in their voices. It was a moment of validation, not just for me, but for all the sacrifices they had made for me. I knew then that I was getting closer to making their dream a reality. With the financial stability that the app brought, I was able to focus more on my goal. But it wasn't just about the money. I wanted to show my parents that their sacrifices had not been in vain. I wanted to give back to them in a way that truly mattered. I started researching properties by the sea, looking for the perfect cottage that would make their dreams come true. It was a meticulous process, balancing my growing business with the pursuit of this personal goal. But as the app's success grew, so did the pressure. Competition in the tech world is fierce, and there were always new challenges to tackle. Big companies started noticing my little app, and I had to fend off acquisition offers. Some were tempting, but I wasn't ready to sell. Taskmaster was more than just a product to me. It was a testament to my hard work and resilience. One of the toughest decisions I faced was whether to keep growing the app on my own or seek investment to scale faster. I knew that taking on investors would mean giving up some control, but it could also provide the resources needed to reach even greater heights. After much deliberation, I decided to bring on a couple of investors who shared my vision. Their support allowed me to hire more staff, improve our infrastructure, and expand our marketing efforts. It was a gamble, but it paid off. As Taskmaster continued to thrive, I finally found the perfect cottage for my parents. It was a charming 2-story house with a breathtaking view of the sea. I remember the day I handed them the keys, their eyes welling up with tears of joy. It was their wedding anniversary, and the look of joy on their faces was something I will never forget. It was an emotional and joyous celebration, a testament to the power of dedication and love. The journey to that point had been anything but easy, but every challenge and setback had been worth it. I had achieved my goal, but I knew the work wasn't done. There were still more dreams to chase, more goals to accomplish, and I was ready for whatever came next. Over the next few years, I worked tirelessly. There were many late nights and early mornings. I sacrificed personal time, relationships, and even my health at times. But I never lost sight of the goal. Every step forward was a step closer to buying that dream house for my parents. Despite the growing distance between my wife and me, I remained focused on my work. It was a coping mechanism, I suppose. Work was something I could control, something that gave me a sense of accomplishment. It was a stark contrast to the chaos that my personal life had become. After years of relentless hard work, countless sacrifices, and overcoming obstacle after obstacle, the day finally arrived when I had saved enough to buy the dream house for my parents. It was a journey marked by highs and lows, triumphs and tribulations, but in the end, it was all worth it. I remember the exact moment I realized I had finally reached my goal. I was sitting at my desk, surrounded by notes and plans, when the numbers on my bank statement confirmed it. I had done it. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. I wanted everything to be perfect. Finding the right house wasn't just about the money, it was about fulfilling a lifelong dream. I pored over real estate listings, visited countless properties, and talked to numerous agents. Each house had something special, but I knew I had found the one the moment I set foot inside it. It was a charming 2-story cottage nestled by the sea, with a wraparound porch and large bay windows that offered stunning ocean views. It was everything my parents had ever dreamed of and more. I decided to make the reveal a surprise. Their wedding anniversary was coming up, and I couldn't think of a better occasion. I meticulously planned the day, coordinating with the real estate agent, arranging for movers, and even hiring a decorator to add those special touches that would make the house feel like home. It was a labor of love, every detail carefully considered. The morning of their anniversary, I invited my parents out for breakfast. They had no idea what was in store. After breakfast, I told them I had a special surprise and asked them to come with me. We drove in silence, the excitement bubbling inside me. As we neared the cottage, I could see their curiosity growing. When we finally pulled up to the house, I handed them the keys with a trembling hand and said, "Welcome home." The look on their faces was priceless. My father, usually a man of few words, was speechless. My mother's eyes filled with tears, and she hugged me tightly. We walked through the house together, exploring each room. The kitchen was spacious and bright, perfect for the family gatherings my mother loved to host. The living room had a cozy fireplace, and the bedrooms offered stunning views of the sea. It was perfect. We ended our tour on the porch, sitting together and watching the waves crash against the shore. It was a moment of pure joy, the culmination of years of effort and dedication. My parents were finally living their dream, and I had been able to make it happen. It was the most fulfilling moment of my life. But achieving this dream wasn't just about buying a house. It was about honoring the sacrifices my parents had made for me. They had given up so much to support my dreams, and this was my way of giving back. It was a testament to their love and unwavering belief in me, even when I doubted myself. As we sat on that porch, my mind drifted back to all the challenges I had faced along the way. The failed startup, the countless rejections, the long nights of coding, and the personal sacrifices. Each obstacle had seemed insurmountable at the time, but looking back, I realized that every setback had only made me stronger. It taught me the value of perseverance, resilience, and hard work. The journey had also deepened my understanding of what it meant to truly succeed. Success wasn't just about financial stability or professional achievements. It was about making a difference in the lives of the people you love. It was about gratitude and giving back. The look of joy on my parents' faces was worth more than any paycheck or accolade. In the days that followed, we settled into a new routine. My parents busied themselves with decorating and gardening, turning the house into their personal haven. They invited friends and family over, proud to show off their new home. It was heartwarming to see them so happy and content. For me, life continued to be a balancing act. The success of Taskmaster meant more responsibilities and challenges. There were new features to develop, bugs to fix, and a growing team to manage. But knowing that my parents were living their dream gave me a renewed sense of purpose. It reminded me why I was doing all of this in the first place. One evening, a few months after they had moved in, we had a family dinner at the cottage. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the sea. We sat around the table, laughing and sharing stories. My daughters ran around the yard, their laughter filling the air. It was one of those perfect moments that you want to hold on to forever. As the night wore on and the stars began to twinkle, my father raised his glass in a toast. To Matthew, he said, his voice filled with emotion, for making our dreams come true. We couldn't be prouder of you. Tears welled up in my eyes as I clinked glasses with them. It was a moment of deep connection and love, a reminder of what truly mattered. The journey had been long and hard, but it had brought us closer together. We had faced challenges and overcome them, emerging stronger and more united. Achieving this dream taught me that no matter how difficult the path, perseverance and love can conquer all. It reaffirmed my belief that the greatest success in life is not measured by wealth or fame, but by the impact we have on those we love. My parents had given me everything, and being able to give back to them was the greatest gift of all. Looking back, I realized that this journey had been about more than just buying a house. It had been about discovering the true meaning of success and the importance of family. It had been about honoring the past, embracing the present, and looking forward to the future with hope and determination. As we sat on that porch, watching the stars and listening to the soothing sound of the waves, I knew that we had achieved something truly special. And I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, as a family. That was the real dream, the one that mattered most of all. Reflecting on my journey, I realized the true value of perseverance and gratitude. The experience deepened my bond with my parents and taught me the importance of resilience in the face of adversity. But it also made me acutely aware of the cracks in my marriage. My wife's infidelity, her cryptic social media posts, and the strain of dealing with our blended family all contributed to a growing sense of isolation. I was torn between my commitment to my family and my need to protect myself from further pain. One night, as I lay awake, I made a decision. I couldn't continue living in this limbo. I needed to confront my wife again, but this time with a clear plan. We needed to address our issues head-on for the sake of our family and our sanity. I approached her the next day, and we sat down for a long, honest conversation. We talked about everything: her infidelity, my shortcomings, our future. It was painful, but it was necessary. We agreed to seek couples therapy and to work on rebuilding the trust that had been broken. Therapy was a daunting prospect. The idea of baring our souls to a stranger, of unpacking years of hurt and misunderstanding, was terrifying. But we were both committed to making it work. We needed to rebuild the trust that had been shattered, not just for our sake, but for our daughters as well. So we took a deep breath and stepped into the therapist's office, ready to face our demons. The first few sessions were incredibly tough. Our therapist, Dr. Reynolds, was a kind but no-nonsense woman who immediately set the tone. "This won't be easy," she told us. "But if you're both committed to this process, we can work through it together." We started with individual sessions. Dr. Reynolds believed it was crucial for us to understand our own emotions and behaviors before we could address the issues in our relationship. My sessions were eye-opening. Dr. Reynolds helped me see how my workaholic tendencies, my inability to express emotions, and my tendency to withdraw had contributed to the distance between us. I had been so focused on providing for my family that I had neglected the emotional and physical intimacy that my wife needed. My wife, on the other hand, delved into her own issues. She talked about her struggles with self-esteem, her feelings of loneliness, and her deep-seated fears of abandonment. She also confronted the guilt and shame she felt about her infidelity. It was painful for her, but it was necessary. She needed to understand why she had strayed and what she could do to ensure it never happened again. After several individual sessions, we began joint therapy. These sessions were emotionally charged. We had to confront each other with our deepest fears, our angriest thoughts, and our most painful memories. Dr. Reynolds guided us through exercises designed to improve our communication. We learned how to express our feelings without blaming each other, how to listen without interrupting, and how to validate each other's emotions. One particularly difficult session revolved around the night I discovered my wife's infidelity. I had to relive the shock and hurt I felt, while my wife had to face the pain she had caused. It was excruciating, but it was also cathartic. For the first time, we were truly hearing each other, understanding the depth of the pain and betrayal. Dr. Reynolds introduced us to a technique called mirroring. This involved one of us expressing our feelings while the other repeated back what they heard. It felt awkward at first, but it forced us to really listen to each other. Through this, I learned how much my wife had been hurting, how isolated and unloved she had felt, and she learned about my fears of inadequacy and my desperate need to feel appreciated. There were many tears and heated arguments, but slowly, we began to make progress. We started setting aside time each day to connect with each other. Sometimes we would just sit and talk. Other times we would go for a walk or have a meal together without any distractions. These moments became precious to us. They were a reminder of why we fell in love in the first place. One of the breakthrough moments in therapy came when we discussed boundaries and trust. My wife agreed to full transparency with her social media and phone. It was a difficult concession for her, but she understood it was necessary to rebuild the trust. I, in turn, committed to being more emotionally available and supportive. We also addressed our physical intimacy. Dr. Reynolds helped us understand that physical closeness was a crucial part of a healthy relationship, but it couldn't be forced. We had to rebuild that part of our relationship slowly and with mutual respect. We started with simple acts of affection, holding hands, hugging, kissing, and gradually worked our way back to a more intimate connection. One of the most challenging aspects was dealing with the residual anger and resentment. There were days when I couldn't help but feel angry about the betrayal, and my wife had her own moments of frustration and guilt. Dr. Reynolds taught us techniques to manage these emotions, like deep breathing exercises, mindfulness, and journaling. We learned that it was okay to feel these emotions, but we needed to process them constructively. As the months passed, therapy began to feel less like a chore and more like a safe space. We started to look forward to our sessions, seeing them as an opportunity to strengthen our bond and grow as individuals and as a couple. We also began to see the positive changes in our daily lives. Our home became a happier place, filled with laughter and open communication. Our daughters noticed the changes too, and it was evident that our efforts were benefiting the entire family. We also focused on repairing our social relationships. The impact of the infidelity had extended beyond just the two of us. Friends and family had taken sides, leading to a lot of misunderstandings and misplaced sympathy. We decided to be open about our therapy journey, sharing our progress and the steps we were taking to rebuild our relationship. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary to regain the support of our loved ones. One evening, after a particularly enlightening session, we decided to have a family meeting. We sat down with our daughters and explained in an age-appropriate way what we were going through. We assured them that we loved each other and were working hard to become better partners and parents. Their innocent questions and unconditional love reinforced our commitment to making things right. Therapy also helped us rediscover shared interests and passions. We started taking dance lessons together, something we had always talked about but never pursued. It became our special activity, a way to reconnect and have fun. We also planned family outings and vacations, creating new memories and strengthening our bond. The process of rebuilding trust was slow and filled with challenges, but it was also deeply rewarding. We learned to celebrate small victories, like successfully navigating a difficult conversation or spending a week without any major arguments. Each step forward was a testament to our resilience and commitment. After a year of therapy, we felt like a new couple. We weren't perfect, and there were still moments of doubt and fear, but we had built a strong foundation of trust and communication. We had learned to appreciate each other's strengths and accept each other's flaws. Our relationship was no longer defined by the infidelity, but by the journey we had taken to overcome it. Looking back, I realized that therapy had not only saved our marriage, but it also transformed us as individuals. We had both grown in ways we never imagined possible. My wife had become more confident and self-assured, and I had learned to express my emotions and be more present. We were stronger, wiser, and more connected than ever before. As we sat on our porch one evening, watching the sunset and holding hands, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. We had faced the darkest moments of our lives and come out stronger on the other side. Our journey was far from over, but we were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, together. In the end, therapy taught us that love is not just a feeling, but a choice. It's a commitment to be there for each other, to support and uplift each other, even when it's difficult. It taught us that trust, once broken, can be rebuilt with patience, understanding, and unwavering dedication. And it reminded us that no matter how far we might fall, there is always a way back, as long as we are willing to take that first step. We had learned that true strength lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Our journey through therapy was a testament to that strength, a reminder that with love and perseverance, we could overcome anything. And as we looked to the future, we did so with hope and confidence, knowing that together, we could face whatever came our way. As we moved forward, I focused on balancing my work and personal life better. I spent more time with my family, making sure they knew they were my priority. My wife and I continued therapy, and our relationship slowly began to heal. There were still challenges, but we faced them together. Our journey wasn't perfect, but it was ours. We learned to forgive, to grow, and to cherish the moments we had together. Years later, looking back, I realized how far we had come. My parents were happy in their dream cottage by the sea. My wife and I had rebuilt our relationship on a foundation of trust and mutual respect. Our daughters were thriving, and our family was stronger than ever. Life had thrown us many challenges, but we had faced them head-on. Our journey was a testament to the power of love, perseverance, and resilience. We had learned that even in the face of betrayal and hardship, it was possible to find our way back to each other. And as I stood on the beach, watching the sunset with my family, I knew that no matter what the future held, we would face it together.